through a brother that you, oh my brother, you are going through times of difficulty. I know sometimes you feel all alone. Call me anytime when you feel all the way down.
Oh, trials and temptations lie at every corner we turn. It's a test from Allah to see if we succeed or not.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His Prophet Muhammad, his family and his followers all until the day of resurrection. I'd like to welcome every one of you to this new episode of Meet Your Advisor here on Huda TV. And of course, we do start with a topic, but then our lines are opened for you. Our email is available as well for your questions. I do have some emails to answer. Tonight, I will try to answer all the emails that we have received so far. But let me start with this particular idea. Normally, I take what I deliver on Jumu'ah khutbah, or the Friday sermon that I do every Friday by the grace of Allah. Let me address this topic, which is the importance of purifying your income, your earning. Whatever you earn, whether this is coming from a salary of your employment, of your profession, or this is from a trade or merchandise that you deal with, you need to concentrate on purifying your income, making sure that it comes from lawful sources, because in Islam it is so vital that if you want your life to be well, to be free from all terrible consequences in this life as well as in the hereafter, you need to purify your income, make sure that it is lawful, legal, and free from all types of unlawful dealings, because nowadays we can see that people are dealing so much with illegal ways, indirect ways of trying to find and maximize their income, their profits in a non-legal way. Of course, Allah has made it lawful to earn, to walk on earth, to find ways to find a living, to make a living, which is fine. On the other hand, Islam does not want any Muslim to go and beg on the streets or to wait for people to give them food. You know, instead of sitting and worshiping even in the masjid, or reciting the glorious Quran, or try to do something good as a worship of Allah, first you need to secure your income first. Then you go and involve yourself in ibadah. Of course, you don't need so much. Whatever you have as enough or sufficient for you to go in this life, obviously we need to do that. And the only way to do this is really to make sure that what you have earned is really pure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advised His messengers by saying, Ya ayyuha rusulu kulu min at-tayyibati wa'malu salihah. O messengers, do righteous deeds and eat from rightful sources, from all the good and good bounties and favors that are available, tayyibat, the good things that Allah has made lawful to you on earth. And there are all of these things that are available for us are permissible. Allah created whatever is in the heavens and the earth is for us, for humans, to be used for good. But of course, He prohibited riba, which is to take more than what is permissible for you as an interest, as more than what is right for you, because some people abuse the need of others, and that's why they maximize, just like capitalist banks who try to sell, for example, houses with mortgage, or if some people steal or cheat on their income filing applications and so on, or if they get something that is not right for them. I know there are some employers, employees who try to get something like as if they have done some work, just only on paper, but nothing in reality. This is absolutely prohibited, unlawful, and wrong. Let me tell you about the importance of purifying your income. That, for example, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala an, who was a very famous Khalifa, one time one of his own helpers and servants brought him some food, and he ate from it, and he asked him, "Where did you get this food from?" He said, "Well, when I was in my ignorance time, that is before I became a Muslim, I did something that was part of actually fortune telling, and then I didn't know that." But he said, I deceived someone. I made him think that I was telling fortunes, and that's why he gave me some money for it. But then I bought food with it. Now it's available, and I gave you from that food. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq actually got his hand inside his throat, and he vomited and threw up everything that was in his stomach. And he said, "Oh Allah, forgive me for whatever my own veins actually observed, and look at all the ulcers and so on." What Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh was really doing was trying to not put inside his body anything that is unlawful. And he was following the instructions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he advised Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala an, when he said, "Ya Mu'adh, atib mat'amak tustajab da'watuk." If you try to be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you make supplications or dua, obviously what you need to do is make sure that your income is lawful. Don't put inside your stomach anything that is not, or inside your mouth, anything that is not lawful to you. And the same thing for good, wise women who ask their husbands not to earn anything but lawful, because they said, we can be patient for being hungry, but we cannot be patient when we are put in hellfire. So this is important for everyone in the family, both the earner and the whole family members who actually eat from this earning. And if it's good, obviously it will be reflected in their behavior, in their answering of their prayers and body nourishments. And if it is unlawful, it will have its own effect on them. So people who are very righteous would purify their income, look at something, everything around, they check around everything, they make sure that whatever they do is right. Such as when someone enters into a restaurant, or make sure that whatever this meat being presented to them is actually halal and purified and lawful. Not only that, obviously, that it is halal in of itself, such as if it's not pork or has been made with wine or anything of any prohibited substance, but then making sure that it came from a legal source, not being stolen, not being, of course, coming from riba, or even with some doubt in it. If you have some doubt, then the best thing is to avoid this, as the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn al-Bashir radiyallahu ta'ala an, when he asked the Prophet So when he said, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam saying, من اتقى الشبهات فقد استبرأ لدينه وعرضه ومن وقع في الشبهات فقد وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرعى حول الحمى يوشك أن يرتع فيه ألا وإن لكل ملك حمى ألا وإن حمى الله محارمه ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. Now this hadith was reported by both Al-Bukhari and Muslim and Abi Dawood and others. The point is, what this hadith says is, if you avoid doubtful matters, then actually you have been free from all troubles, and in fact you have purified your deen, your religious duties, and of course your honor, so people will not talk about you and say, well, look at him doing this and that and so on. That would be really a trouble and a problem. Let me stop here and take this call from Wasim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ya Sheikh.
Bas, go ahead.
Sir, I want to ask you, Sheikh, that whether it is obligatory for the husband to pay the zakat for the jewels of the wife, or wife should pay it.
Okay. Any other question, Wasim?
Yeah.
Any other question?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Barakallahu feek. Now, that's a good question, and obviously the answer is I think clear, which is this zakah. Before I go into the zakah, let me tell you whether jewelries, especially which are basically gold and silver, whether we need to pay the zakah for or not. The scholars of Islam have two different opinions regarding this point, because some of them say, if your own gold is for use, not for treasure, not for business, then obviously it is not zakatable, which means you don't have to pay as long as whatever the woman is using is within the normal. It's not really too much of a jewelry, or it is not really kept there to be like as a treasure, or to sell when you need money. Actually, a woman bought it just only to beautify herself as ornaments and so on. So the point here, is this zakatable? Some scholars say it is not. The majority of scholars say there is no zakah in jewelries as long as they are used for ornaments. Some, like some scholars, the Hanbalite, for example, would say it is a must and you have to pay the zakah for jewelry. Some scholars say, well, in order to get out of this difference among the scholars, it is better to pay. And really it's not that much. Suppose a woman has the value of 10,000 Saudi riyals of jewelry, of gold. What would be the zakah in this? It would be like 2.5%. 2.5% is like really not much. In 10,000 we have 2.5. That would be really 25 riyals. It's not really much. If it's 1,025, 250 for 10,000, 250 riyals really is not that much if you think that you have a gold worth of 10,000 Saudi riyals with the same calculation. But of course, after year, it may take money, because it does actually require to pay on a yearly basis. So a woman has a choice whether to pay or not. It's preferable for her to pay the jewelry zakah. If she decides no, then she is really not obliged to do so. Now, is it a must on the husband to pay that? No, because the zakah is due in the jewelry itself, not because of the husband or the wife. regardless of who the owner is, actually it should be given from the jewelry itself. Now, if by selling part of it, if not, then the woman has to pay, because she's a beneficiary. She's the one who's using it. She's really the one who's benefiting from this. Even if he bought it for her, she's the owner, and therefore she needs to pay the zakah for it. If he decides willingly, out of his own goodwill, to pay the zakah for that, fine. That would be his own decision, and he is not obliged to do that. But going back to the idea of the importance of pure income, let me give you another thing, that the same thing that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu did was done by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he actually drank some milk, and he asked his own servant, where did he get it from? He said, from the ibil, or the camels of the sadaqah, actually charity camels, which are being given as charity, and they are there for people to actually wait to be given. So actually, although it's like for the public use, but still Umar did not want to do that, and he actually threw up that milk, and he said, I will not be nourished by something that I do not, that was not right for me. Look at how careful these scholars and leaders in Islam, and the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, in purifying their income. They had no doubt, they just did not want anything to come inside their body unless it was purified and free for them to do so. So that is my point, and of course I'm glad that we received a call during this. Let me get into some emails. This is an email from Kulthum in Nigeria, who said, I heard a hadith that you will only be in Jannah with your last husband in this world. Can I ask my present husband to divorce me because I love my late husband more? Kulthum. Well, Kulthum, thank you so much. But look, you didn't need to ask your husband for divorce, because it is prohibited for women to ask for a divorce when there is no reason for that. As long as you accepted that man, as long as you're living with him, and he is kind to you, he is just to you in your life, why do you ask for a divorce? Now maybe you had more, like as you said, more love and affection to a husband before. I don't know what happened to that husband, whether he died or you just, he divorced you. But the point is, don't do it, because the point is really a matter of difference among the scholars of Islam regarding this particular point, because there is no hadith supporting whether it would be for the one who has more good manners, or is it for the one who would be the last one. Obviously, since sometimes we forget about earlier people that we get in companionship with. All right, let me stop here and ask and answer Yusuf. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yeah, Sheikh, I have a question. It's something that's been confusing me and upsetting me, because my sister, she's based in the UK and she's getting married, inshallah. It's been a while coming, but alhamdulillah, she's getting married. But the problem is the wedding won't be segregated. And I wear niqab, observe hijab, and I've explained to her and tried to give her nasiyah regarding this. But her husband-to-be and her, they don't believe that segregation is compulsory. Now, as her sister, I obviously have to maintain, a tie of kinship with her, but I don't want to compromise on my deen. So what would your advice be for me in this matter?
All right. Very well. Inshallah. Anything you want to say else? Anything else you want to say?
Would it be permissible for me perhaps just to go into the hall, to the place that There will be
Right.
free mixing, but
Right.
totally cover, just congratulate her and then leave.
Right.
Would
Right.
that be an option, perhaps? Because I don't want to upset my family. I don't want to upset her because
Exactly.
it's a happy time.
Right. She's your younger sister, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay. All right. Inshallah, I'll answer that question.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Wa iyyakum. Thank you so much. MashaAllah. Well, let me go back to the matter of Kulthum regarding the point of being with your husband. As I said, there is no agreement among the scholars regarding this particular point, and that's why you don't have to worry about this, because really there is a difference, and the scholars are not decided. Even some scholars said that it is not for the one who's the late one, but maybe for the one who is higher in his good manners. Anyway, it would be, I would assume, inshallah, is something that you'll be pleased with, both of you will be pleased with. Now, how would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala satisfy each one of you on the Day of Judgment? Because you'll never get, if you are in paradise, you'll never get anything that will upset you. Or everything that is in Jannah will be, alhamdulillah, something you are so pleased with. So don't worry about that. As long as you enter, just work on getting into Jannah. And I think part of getting into Jannah is to be kind to the present husband, to be really obedient to him, as long as this is in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and try not to divorce him just only on that hope, because this in of itself is a sin, and you don't want to commit that here in this life. All right, regarding Yusuf's question, I appreciate what you are doing, alhamdulillah, and I think this comes out of your own devotion to your deen. And as you said, yes, obviously it is important when there is a marriage that you separate men from women. You cannot mix the two, because there will be some fitna going on, and obviously doing this, she will be dressed in a certain way, she'll have a makeup and so on and so forth. How could she be seen by men around? I mean, even out of this natural human jealousy or need to protect your own wife to be, or at that time, that night, she'll be your wife. How could you accept that people just keep gazing at her and looking at her? That's not right. And of course, it is prohibited in Islam. Therefore, what you need to do is, as you said, even if you come with your niqab, come and say salam, and say, yes, I'm attending this. Bring whatever gift you'd like, give salam to her and to the rest of the family members among the women, and your own close, of course, man who's a mahram of you, and then you just leave. That's basically the point. You don't need to stay in a marriage like this, because it's not proper. And I think you actually hinted what would be right, since you talked about this and said, I don't want to stay in that. I don't compromise on this issue, which is absolutely correct. May Allah keep you on the straight path. May Allah guide her. But keep on advising her. Keep on doing this, because somehow you don't know. Maybe Allah will open her heart for the truth, and the same thing for the husband, and make dua for them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide their heart, since they are Muslims and they want to follow the right path in this regard. Healing on uncertainty, because they don't know what happens in the future. That's why you take the risk, and they maybe years would pass without getting the in any accident, and there is no need, or illness and so on, and you may not need the doctor. That's why you need to do this, and that's why it's obviously uncertain. This is unlawful. However, it is permissible for you to do this, as long as this is compulsory upon you, and to take a benefit from it. As a scholar said, I have a break and I'll be back shortly, so please stay around.
I heard it through a brother that you, oh my brother, you are going through times of difficulty.
Why righteous companions? It is Islam that given us the sense of dignity. I love all of them in a way that you cannot imagine. That Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu would say something and the Quran would come down matching what he said. والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. Just compare what you did for Islam with just one of them.
Ark of Noah.
We're going to be mentioning the significance of the Ark of Noah.
Knowledge is the essence of everything. Once you get the knowledge, then it generates the desire and the motivation, and then it brings about the action.
And we're going to be discussing the state of the Ummah and the division which unfortunately has appeared in it, and the methodology of trying to arrive at the right path.
Your system of knowledge or your system of motivation are hit by any of these threats, you will definitely go astray and you will be suffering from a disease in the heart.
We're also going to be discussing what Allah wants from us.
How can we make that? Allah gave us the revelation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing first and foremost the companions. If they believe in what you have believed in, then they are guided. So the real guidance is what the Prophet ﷺ and the companions were upon.
Join Sheikh Mutassim in the program Ark of Noah and discover the answers to these questions.
I heard it through a brother that you, oh my brother, you are going through times of difficulty.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. And getting into the question of dyeing your beard or hair of your own hair on top of your head. Is that permissible? Well, there is some difference among the scholars. Many scholars said it is permissible. There is nothing wrong with it. However, only some scholars say black is not allowed, to make it black, but you can make it like brownish, or you can make it like henna color if you dye it with henna, which is like sort of a part of it red and brown and so on. But some are saying there is no difference as long as this is, people know that you are somehow aged, and they can tell the difference. And there's so much discussion on this issue. Some are saying it is prohibited, some are saying it's disliked, some are saying it is permissible. So we cannot say that if someone does it, is he committing a sin? No. Because the scholars, many scholars of Islam are saying it is permissible. A lot of them, by the way, are doing it nowadays. And it really, by the way, is fine as long as there is no deception. Especially when it comes to marriage, for example. If someone wants to get married and they look at this man, obviously they will ask about his age, they will ask about his health, they will ask about his profession, his income, and so on. So it would not be really, it may make a person look younger than he is in reality, but in fact it is permissible according to many scholars nowadays, and therefore excuse me, we cannot say to a person he's committing a sin in this regard. Okay? Excuse me. Now this is a question from this brother who said, I'm a convert and I'm married. Oh, this is a lady, a sister who said, I'm convert and I'm married to a Muslim man and my husband is a devoted Muslim and I see him pray. He uses a lot, he curses a lot when he is, excuse me, when he's annoyed. For example, while driving or have stress at work. We are newly married, and I would always tell him, it is not good. And he says, I'm quite concerned, especially when we get to have children. All right, so advise how I can help him to avoid this attitude and apply Islam to this problem. Well, this is good. I like the question. Thank you so much, sister, for such a good question, because what we need to do is know and learn how to manage anger, because we're not all together. Some people are just easily, mashallah, created in a fashion by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where they could control their anger. They're just soft and nice. They are not really hot-tempered, but some are. And when they get so angry, they transgress, and they started cursing and damning and doing all these terrible things. Of course, we should know the rule of cursing, because cursing is prohibited. In fact, it's one of the grave and major sins in Islam. And therefore, as the hadith goes, if a person curses another person, then that curse, because it comes from Allah. When you say, may Allah curse some, such and such, or this person or that person, it goes into the heaven, up. And if it is applicable to that person, then the doors of heaven are opened for that curse, and it will be accepted. But if that curse is not applicable, or this person does not deserve it, then it comes down to this person, and it will be, in fact, wrapped, just like a piece of cloth, and pushed again into the face of that person, meaning it will be on this person, as if you are calling upon yourself with anger to be deprived from Allah's mercy, because basically cursing is to ask the mercy of Allah to be away from someone, to be kicked out of the compassion and mercy and kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no one would like to have that, because if a person is cursed, then that person is really in big trouble. That's why it is not permissible for you to curse. And Islam does not want any one of us to have a terrible tongue, a terrible mouth, where you always curse and damn and have terrible bad words that you direct towards others. We need to always learn how to be kind, how to have beautiful words that will soften the hearts of others towards us. And therefore, what we need to do is to control our anger and not to get into cursing. What you need to do is try to be kind to the husband and ask him to say, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." There are many ways. If you get angry and would like to get into something terrible, first you say, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." Secondly, if you get so angry, you go and make wudu or take ghusl or bath, because that will actually, because anger is from fire, and water actually quits fire and extinguishes fire. Therefore, it's recommended to make wudu. And if you are standing, just sit down. And if you are sitting, just lay down. So that's the advice that came from the Prophet ﷺ. We need to learn how to manage our anger and be good human beings, because that will affect the person and the people around us. And I'm glad that you said, I want this father to be a model of his children who will come, inshallah. Therefore, they don't want to see him hot-tempered. They don't want to see him do all these, ill things, terrible things, and that's not Islamic. So I think by learning how to do this, to advise and to keep on advising, and for him to take this, for example, but then if that all did not work, then obviously they may need to take a course or a seminar on anger management. You can always try to control your anger by really having some techniques, and these techniques are just think. First, when you get angry, stop saying anything, and then secondly, say "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." Change the situation, hold back, and if you do this, I think you'll learn time after time, and they might give you, if you take courses like this or some workshop or seminars on anger management, then obviously it will help, bi'idhnillah. But try to always learn how to say good things, even when someone provokes you. That's not right. Okay, let me get into some more emails here. This is Jibril or Jamila. Jamila says, please, I want you to advise me on issues of working in higher institution that is mixed with men, that is mixed of men and women. As a Muslim woman, can I lecture in such institutions in a complete Islamic dressing, that is hijab? Well, thank you so much for the question. I think this is good, if depending on what you're doing there and whether this is needed for you or not. We know that Islam encourages so much the protection of women and trying to lessen the amount of contact between men and women, although at times this contact may be needed, but still, if that happens, it has to be in full hijab with no makeup whatsoever, and of course only doing things like lecturing or saying something that is absolutely right without any way of arousing the opposite gender. This is always important to put in mind when there is a contact between a man and a woman. We have to lower the gaze of men to women and women to men. This is all important because that is the way to protect us from the shaitan and instilling in our hearts the interest in the opposite gender, which may lead into wrongdoing. So that is a sort of buffer zone or protection for us during these contacts. So the scholars of Islam say, depending on necessity and the need for this lecturing, it's always better to avoid it. And many scholars, by the way, are saying, don't work in mixed institutions or workplaces. Avoid that as much as you can, but still, if you need to do it, if this is the only way for you to get some income or provision, obviously you may need to do it, but only limited, especially when there is no fitna. If there are some men whom you think would be interested in you, not in what you say, but in you personally, then that becomes a problem. You need to stop that, obviously. But if this is all fine and you find that this is going to work and you only limit it to lecturing on the topic that you're doing, and obviously with full hijab on you, with following the Islamic etiquettes and manners, obviously it may be allowed under these circumstances. So all depends on the circumstances, all depends on how you actually lead yourself and how you act during these situations. If you act with full hijab, with full concentration on the topic, and there is no fitna and there is no interest from you in the men who are part of this class, or the opposite. If they have no interest in you, then that's fine. As long as, as soon as you find something wrong with yourself or with these men, then obviously you need to stop it. And you need to be a model. You need to be a good example for other Muslims in this regard. So the rule is avoid it as much as you can, but if you need to do it, then do it within these circumstances and with all these criteria that are demanding from women to be so protected, and they need to protect their reputation as good Muslims in this regard. Okay? All right. Let me get into this. My name is Muhammad. I'm trying my best to avoid al-fahisha, both physically and electronically. Please, I need your advice on how to quit, and pray for me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for me to forget it. I don't know what you mean by al-fahisha. Does that mean that you watch terrible things, blue movies, if you will, on the internet? That is not allowed, and it's absolutely prohibited, and you need to stop it immediately. Don't give yourself any chance, and don't say, well, yes, it is fine, it's not really something major, You need to cut it right away and avoid doing this. That is the first thing. It's even worse if you come in contact directly, because these go hand in hand. They support each other. If you watch these things on the internet or in houses that provide that sort of thing, then obviously you would try to put it into practice when you go out and see women. You need to avoid that. You need to stop it. And look how shaitan takes you step by step. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, la tattabi'u khutuwat ash-shaytan. O you who believe, don't follow the steps of shaitan, because the shaitan doesn't come directly to you and say, do this terrible and fahisha or major sin, but rather it will be in degrees. All right. Bassam, salamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Shaykh.
Yes, sister.
I have two questions.
Yes.
Number one is it allowed to celebrate Mother's Day as our kids are asked in school to make some cards on Mother's Day? Second is, what about the loan in the banks, suppose Al-Raji Bank? Yes, they are saying this is Islamic bank. But we came to know that they are taking fixed amount of this riba. Is it allowed to take loan here?
Now tell me how this loan coming from the bank, what exactly they're telling you?
Yeah, suppose if I want to take a loan from the bank, they informed us that this is an Islamic bank as per the Sharia law. They take some shares, but there is a fixed amount. Suppose if I take 100,000 riyals, I have to pay back 100 plus 10,000. So is it allowed, is it riba or what, we don't know exactly. Is it Sharia bank or, but they are saying it is Sharia bank. But
who says that?
We have to pay.
The bank says that?
Yeah, bank says that.
Okay.
But where from these 10,000 we have to pay extra? Where from it comes?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bassam. Well, Bassam, let me talk about first celebrating your birthdays or Mother's Day and so on. Obviously, we know that these things came to us from non-Islamic traditions. They are not part of our tradition and culture as Muslims. We never celebrated during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, nor after that during the first 300 years, the celebration of birthdays of anyone, including the Prophet ﷺ himself. He never celebrated this. The companions never celebrated his own birthday. No one celebrated his own birthday, because that's something that just came to us from later on. In fact, if we think that we are 1 year older than we were 1 year before, then we should be more aware of nearness to our grave. It is bringing us closer to our death, not giving us more. In fact, 1 year has already passed, so we should feel like we'd like to hold ourselves accountable for this rather than to celebrate it. So celebration in that sense is not right, and I don't advise it. Although some scholars said as long as this is within the family, it's not, there is nothing. But all in all, many scholars are saying it is an imitation of the non-believers. This is a non-Islamic tradition, and that's why it's not allowed. So you need to avoid that. Regarding the loan from the bank with interest, as I can see, if it's just only pure money, and you'll have to pay the extra amount of money for lending you that amount, then this is obvious riba. No one would say it is permissible. They may try to ask you to do something, is that they say, well, you'll buy from us like this amount of iron, this amount of merchandise, lumber, certain things that they may have, and then you'll resell it to them, and they will buy it from you with a cheaper price, and then you owe them this amount of money. That's how they try to do it. Cars, lumber, iron, bars, and so on and so forth. But that's not, still there's some deception amount, because you're not actually seeking to buy that merchandise, but rather just to go around this issue. So my recommendation is stay out of that. That's doubtful. We talked already about this in the earlier part of our program. You need to avoid such procedures, because what they lead to is basically you end up paying more than what you need, and they're just they are just benefiting from what you're doing, what you're getting from them. And of course, they are just there, and the banks are there just to make money. They're not just there to be kind to people. So what you need to do is involve yourself in merchandise, try to get yourself into work with others, make the money work for you, wait until you get enough money to buy whatever you want, be patient. That sort of thing will get you out of riba, and I don't advise it, even if they say with their own tongues all of that, because they all have these zigzag ways in order to make money, and they will try to convince people. Even if they give you a statement from a group of scholars, they don't follow that statement correctly. So you have to be very cautious. You have to be careful when dealing with these things, because it's a matter of your deen. You don't want to put your deen in a terrible way there, okay? This is Aisha who says, brother, help me on this. I have been married to my husband for 18 years. All of a sudden, he started dating 2 other women at the same time. And this has been on for 11 years. He has told me to get, I told him to get married, but he said no, and yet he does not want to leave this act. What do I do? What do you think? I mean, you said all of a sudden he started dating, and it's been on for 11 years, and you've been saying nothing for 11 years? I mean, come on, sister. I think this is something, there's something wrong there. And I think it started with you as a woman, as his wife. Wise wives would know what is going on. They have this sixth sense, I would say. If we have 5 senses for every human being, then I think the sixth sense is with women regarding their husbands. They know what goes on. They can smell, they can feel there's something wrong. If he's doing this with other women, you can still know it, and you can still we're doing it. So it's wrong. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, we got him cut off. Anyway, it was called from Nigeria, and what I want to do is let me say this. My advice to you is to ask him to divorce you right away. If he agrees, fine, because living with this man who's been dating women for 11 years is committing fahisha, and he's not doing the right thing, and you need really to stop this immediately. If not, then you have to go to the court and ask the judge, the Muslim judge, to divorce you. Because even if you make khula, this is not a man who's worth to live with. You need to get away from that infected environment. This is not good for you anymore. How could you accept it as a wife? Even if you have children, even if you say, well, I will not have anyone to support me, Allah will support you. Allah will support you. Shaykh, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Go ahead.
Sheikh, I have a question that after the delivery of a baby, is it necessary that the mother waits for 40 days, or if the bleeding stops, she can start praying salah after 20 days?
Okay. All right. Sheikh, any other question?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. So, my advice for you regarding this particular issue of this husband is, please, right away, you need to stop to make an end to this. This is my advice to you, because these men, he's being corrupt. He's terrible. All right. My answer to Sheikh's question regarding the stop of bleeding for women after the post-childbirth, or after their childbirth, if the blood stops, then that's it. She can take a shower, make sure that by inserting a clean piece of cotton inside the vagina to make sure that there is really no more blood, and if that stopped, then you need immediately to start praying and to start being normal. That is the rule. You don't have to wait for 40 days. That is what the scholars of Islam are saying regarding purity of the post-childbirth, boredom. And I'd like to thank every one of you for being with us today. Until we meet, inshallah, next Friday, I leave you with Allah's care and protection. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I heard it through a brother that you, oh my brother, you are going through times of difficulty. I know sometimes you feel all alone. Call me anytime when you feel all the way down.
Oh, trials and temptations lie at every corner we turn. It's a test from Allah to see if we succeed or not. My brother, it's a trial that you're going through, so don't be afraid. Allah's there for you, so hold on. Allah's there for you, hold on. He's listening to you, hold on.